There was this one time when me and my family returned home from a restaurant, and I suddenly realized, oh shit, it's like 30 minutes until my bedtime. I better get my nightly routine done quickly. But before I did any of that, before I went to journal, before I showered myself, I was still kind of hungry and I wanted some fresh dessert that I would quickly eat. And so I went to the kitchen and I grabbed my favorite fruit, which was an apple, which I used to eat every single night before I went to sleep. Whoa, I accidentally rhymed that. Let's go. And so, because I was rushing, I didn't want to just grab a knife and do it the long and boring way of slowly cutting it and slowly cutting the seeds away from the fresh core of the apple. And so, as I was under pressure and really wanted to get this over with so that I could go and journal and shower and finally go to sleep, I grabbed this like apple cutter, the one that instantly cuts your apple into like 6 even pieces. Yeah, so I grabbed that and I put my apple on the cutting board and I slowly started to push the cutter on the apple. And so I cut it. However, the small pieces of the apple were still hanging on the cutter. And so I had to flip it downside up and I needed to press my fingers on the apple slices so that they would come out. But you see, the middle, the part with the most seeds, with the stem and stuff like that, that was really holding on to there. Like it really didn't want to go. Normally this is no problem. I just grab my thumb and I slowly push the middle away from the cutter. It takes like 10 seconds at most. It just doesn't want to go from time to time, but that's okay. But this time, since I was under a rush and I was really overthinking and I wasn't mindful at all, I cut myself. Because I really pressed my thumb onto the middle of the apple. And to be fair though, I did succeed. The middle of the apple literally flew away from the cutter, but I cut my thumb in 2 different pieces. Now of course, it wasn't a deep cut. Of course, this was the smallest possible mistake that I could have done in that situation. And so I suffered the smallest consequences. And plus the cut wasn't even that deep. It probably was like few millimeters. And the bleeding wasn't even that severe. It stopped after like 10 minutes, I think. Do you see what I did wrong right there? I acted fast. You see, as a man, there are 3 laws that you need to implement in your daily life, that you need to stay constantly mindful about every single goddamn second of your life. And these are: never explain, never complain, and never act fast. Now, never explain and never complain are obvious to every single man, but the most overlooked one is never act fast. Because even though my bedtime routine was like 20 minutes in, even though my bedtime was closing in faster and faster, what I didn't know back then was that even if I went to my bed and fell asleep 1.5 hours later than my normal sleep time, I still would have been fine. And this is true, by the way. If you go to sleep and you don't fall asleep for the next 1.5 hours, only after that time your sleeping schedule will be fucked. Meaning that if you go to fall asleep and you fall asleep like 1 hour in, your sleeping schedule will still be fine. But I didn't realize it at that time, and so I rushed because there was a lot of pressure on me, and in the end, I hurt myself. But this was just a light reminder. You see, life is a constant reminder. It is like a woman, for example. You know how like your mom is constantly testing you, like, oh, when are you going with the boys to the aqua park? Did you do your homework already? Did you vacuum the floor like I told you to? Did you move the lawn? Yeah, life is just like that. It constantly reminds you as a man to stay mindful about these 3 nevers. However, where many guys fail at is that whenever they are in an argument, for example, and there's a lot of screaming, there's a lot of lizard brain being used, not a lot of rationality between the opponents. They crack under the pressure because they think that if their argument opponent cannot wait 10 seconds for an intelligent response, then, they'll be seen as dumb, insecure, and they will instantly lose the argument. But that's just not true. That is literally just a movie propaganda that is subliminally affecting you. And I used to believe it. Every time when I had a disagreement with someone before I got on to self-improvement, I was that guy who wouldn't stick much during an argument, who was irrational, and who couldn't come up with an intelligent response because my brain was instantly wired to just not think much during an argument and just use my lizard brain. But to that, I say, think about every single world leader that there is. I don't care if he's a king, if he's a president, if he's an owner of a really profitable business. Think about how they talk. They never talk fast, and whenever they're asked about something, they always implement the three nevers. They don't explain as much, they usually give like one sentence explanation. They never talk fast, meaning that they always take their time, and they talk like me, for example. They don't talk like overhyped and they say like 5 words per second. No, they just calmly breathe in and breathe out. And they activate the rational part of their brain, meaning that they talk easier. And also, they never complain. They always just criticize on the negatives of the thing that they're trying to, bring attention to. You never hear them say stuff like, oh, you're a dumb, you're an insecure prick, you're a piece of shit. They never say stuff like that. They always just speak out objective facts and they criticize them and tell how everything could be better if that person or if that thing or that organization fixed that one flaw. They never just complain irrationally. They always implement these three nevers. But what we are focusing on in this video is the never of acting fast. Never acting fast doesn't just apply in the relationships, it also applies in business, in wealth, and in health also. Because just think about it. If you did one meditation session today and your shitty attention span that cannot wait for delayed gratification just, thought to itself, oh, this doesn't work. I just did like 10 meditation sessions in a row and my attention span is still fucked. I'm not gonna do this anymore, it doesn't work, the self-improvement gurus lied to me. You wouldn't get anywhere. You shouldn't act fast. Remember, you're in it for the long term. Life as a man isn't supposed to be easy. Not everything will come to you as that dopamine pleasure that you get from clicking on that anime video on YouTube. It also applies to your physical journey too. Because if you just cannot stick to a single workout for 6 months, then how do you expect it to bring you some muscle gain? It won't. If you just, scroll on TikTok, which is already bad on itself, but just for the sake of example, if you scroll on TikTok and you see like 10 different workout routines and you do every single one of them per day, yeah. If your attention span is that shitty, you're not gonna get anywhere. And even if you do decide to stick to a single workout routine, your attention span will still be fucked. Meaning that you won't do it correctly. What you're supposed to do is, for example, when you're doing a push-up, when you're going downwards, you're supposed to do it fast. And when you, pull yourself slowly upwards, then you should do it at least 1/3 as fast as you dropped yourself down. Meaning that if it took you like 1 second to get down, it must take you at least 3 seconds to get back up. And that right there will get you powerful muscle gain, like it has been bringing me for the past 6 months. And also in wealth too. In wealth, you should never act fast, because let's say that you're a trader, for example, or an investor. Of course, you're not gonna get anywhere with your investments if you just flip through all of these different businesses, if you flip through all of these different stocks and stuff like that. You're not gonna get anywhere. You need to have the fucking patience. You need to wait. You never must act fast. You always need to think everything through. Every single temptation that life throws at you, every single trial and tribulation, every single awkward situation that you get yourself into, you need to slow down and you need to think everything through. Otherwise, you will look like a fool if you just respond in the first 3 seconds. You need to take at least 15 seconds. You need to form a rational solution to that situation. Otherwise, everyone will see you as a subhuman who cannot control his emotions, and you don't want that. So make them wait. If they cannot wait for your response for 10 fucking seconds, then they are not worthy of your time. Do you see where self-improvement gets you to? It makes you a higher quality man. It makes you realize your true potential so that you can spend the rest of your life with the actual quality 1% of people that will be truly your best friends. If you've ever watched an Andrew Huberman podcast, and especially the Robert Greene one, you always see that whenever they, switch turns, like for example, Andrew is talking and he finishes talking, the other person waits 6 seconds before they start talking. And that is what I really love. Like for example, if you want to see Never Talk Fast in action between actual quality people, then I highly suggest that you start watching long-form educational videos on YouTube, like podcasts. You don't have to watch Andrew Huberman like I do, but you can also watch other people, because you see this every single time on a podcast. Whenever they have a guest and they, switch places from who's talking, the other person waits at least 6 to 7 seconds before the other person starts talking. Now granted, the only time you're allowed to act fast is as if your life depends on it. That's when you truly get to unleash your lizard brain, because your lizard brain was made for it. What exactly is a lizard brain? It is the part of your brain that is the emotional side. It's basically the same part of your brain that craves instant pleasure. The most elemental primal resources for survival, which is, sex, food, water, and stuff like these. And also pleasure too. This is the part of your brain that completely thinks emotionally. It is the same part of your brain that the big companies use against you to manipulate you to watching 10,000 hours on YouTube, for example. It is the same part of your brain that the big gaming corporations have used to manipulate you to spend thousands of hours playing Minecraft. But don't think that this part of your brain should be removed. No, it has a reason for it being there. Like for example, let's say that you're cooking something in the kitchen and you touch the pot and it's all hot. You know what happens? You pull your hand out immediately. Well, that's because that lizard brain responded to it. It just registered that, oh, hot equals bad, pull away. That's exactly what it does. But also it can be used against you in the form of addictions. It is basically the part of your brain that makes you act fast. In sometimes good situations, but sometimes, and mostly in our modern world, in the bad situations. And so, if your life truly depends on it, like for example, you're camping with your future family, right? And there's this bear that is coming after you guys, and it is threatening to eat you. Well then, you are allowed to think irrationally. You are allowed to grab the knife and then to stab that motherfucker in the neck, and then to his heart, and then, you get what I'm saying. Basically, if your life isn't on the line, then that means that life is just throwing random temptations on you. And so, you can just relax, you can breathe in, and just make them wait for your response. Just think everything through and everything will be alright. Okay? And the way that you breathe in and that you activate your prefrontal cortex, which is the rational part of your brain, is that you breathe in for 4 seconds through your nose, you hold it in for 7 seconds, and you breathe out for 8 seconds. Do this like 5 times, and I guarantee you that no life temptation, whether it's in business or if it's in relationships, like for example, someone is texting you and you don't know how to respond, or for example, you're working out and you're overthinking your workout routine once again because you've not seen any muscle gain in the past like 4 months, even though you've been consistent. Calm down and just breathe. Everything will be alright. That's why we have those 3 nevers of man. They will never fail you, no matter what. The only time you can break them is when your life depends on it. That's the only time when you can complain, where you can explain, and when you can talk fast. Just basically activating the lizard part of your brain. And plus, you need to work on your mindfulness, so I suggest that you start meditating every single day to fix your attention span and to make you remember the 3 nevers of a man more efficiently. If you want to be part of a community where we will constantly remind you to use these 3 nevers of a man, where we practice what we preach, where we become the best version of ourselves, in a community where people share the same values as you, the same likes and dislikes, who are working tirelessly on themselves, with whom you can be in a friendly competition with whom you can form long-lasting friendships that will benefit you in the long term, then you can join our Discord clan in the description. I know that if you're watching this video 16 minutes in, then I know that you have way more potential than you think you have, because you can actually sit down and do the work. I know that you'll find your place in there, and I know that you'll be a powerful asset to us. So please, harvest your potential and join us on the path of greatness. You can like the video, you can subscribe if you like, join the email list in the description and get yourself a free ebook about mindfulness. Comment on which part of the video you liked the most and which part of the video you will implement in your daily life. Don't forget to join the clan, you're still invited, and become a part of the family. And with that being said, thank you very much for watching this video, and remember, no one is better at being you